But today we will explore whether the tale of the Lady Loverbond is actually an eerie prediction of Captain James Westlake's encounter 50 years later, and why, after all these years, the wreck of the Lady Loverbond has been found. What did Captain Westlake see in the mists of the English Channel all those years ago? A tale of two encounters. On the morning of February 13, 1798, Captain James Westlake of the merchant vessel Edinburgh was navigating the perilous waters off the Kent coast. His experienced eyes scanned the horizon for the telltale signs of trouble. A thick sea fog had descended upon the channel, shrouding the landscape in an eerie silence. Suddenly, a piercing scream shattered the stillness. "Ship ahoy!" yelled the lookout from his perch high in the rigging, his voice echoing across the deck. "Dead ahead, sir," he continued, urgency lacing his tone. "A ship coming out of the mist. Appears to be a schooner, sir, and she's heading straight for the sands." Westlake's heart skipped a beat. His gaze swept towards the spot indicated by the lookout. Through the swirling mists, he could just make out the shadowy outline of a three-masted schooner. It seemed almost otherworldly, emerging from the fog bank, as if by some ghostly apparition. The image sent a shiver down his spine. The ship was sailing directly into the path of danger, oblivious to the peril that lay ahead. In the midst of this unfolding drama, fate intervened. Captain James Westlake had once before encountered the chilling specter of ships vanishing into the mists of Goodwin Sands. Almost exactly 50 years prior to this fateful day in 1798, a similar incident had occurred. And even then, a three-masted schooner had been involved. Was it merely a coincidence, or was there a darker, more sinister connection between these two maritime mysteries? Let's delve into the archives of maritime history and uncover the details. February 13, 1748, the exact date, half a century before Westlake's encounter, was etched in maritime lore. It was a day much like any other until disaster struck. The Lady Loverbond, a three-masted schooner under the command of Captain Simon Reed, had set sail from London's Thames River bound for the sunny shores of Portugal. The journey was meant to be a joyous one. Captain Reed had recently wed and was taking his bride on their honeymoon voyage. Accompanying them was a small convoy of wedding guests and a crew of 5, including the ill-fated first mate, John Rivers. The Lady Loverbond sliced through the waves under full sail, reveling in the westerly winds that pushed her along at a steady pace of 8 knots. Everything seemed idyllic, but beneath the surface, a dark current of jealousy was brewing within the first mate. John Rivers harbored a secret love for Mrs. Reed, a sentiment that grew into an obsessive fervor. Unable to contain his emotions any longer, he hatched a sinister plan. With the conniving nature of a man possessed, Rivers took his revenge. In a moment of calculated madness, he attacked the ship's boatswain. Seizing control of the helm, he turned the wheel, altering their course, steering the ship directly toward the treacherous Goodwin Sands, also known as the Ship Swallower, a notorious area infamous for claiming countless vessels that dared to venture too close. The captain, alerted by the sudden change in the ship's trajectory, rushed to the deck, his face etched with disbelief and urgency. Despite his desperate efforts, he couldn't regain control. At 11:47 p.m., their worst fears were realized. The Lady Loverbond, sailing at a breakneck speed of 10 knots, crashed into the shifting sands, her bow burying deep into its unforgiving embrace. The impact was cataclysmic. The three-masted schooner, laden with passengers and cargo, was no match for the relentless grip of the sandbank. Within minutes, the Lady Loverbond was no more than splinters and debris strewn across the raging waters. All 12 souls aboard, including Captain Reed, his bride, their guests, and the treacherous Rivers, met their demise in the freezing waters of the English Channel. Now let's return to the year 1798. Captain Westlake's Edinburgh sat in the murky depths, seemingly frozen in time, just as the Lady Loverbond had done 50 years prior. A dense fog had descended upon the area, muffling sounds and obscuring vision. The air was heavy with anticipation, each creak of the ship, each splash of the waves against the hull sending shivers down the sailors' spines. The crew huddled together, sharing tales of the dreaded Goodwin Sands, their voices hushed and reverent. They spoke of the spectral schooner, a phantom ship that appeared and disappeared at will, forever doomed to roam these waters, a harbinger of doom. The legend was so pervasive that sailors who risked the treacherous seas around Goodwin Sands kept a vigilant watch for the eerie glow of lanterns, fearing they might be the next to encounter the ghostly vessel. And then, as if summoned by their very fears, a faint glimmer emerged through the fog. A chill wind swept across the deck, rustling the sails and extinguishing the lanterns. The crew gasped as they strained to pierce the gloom. Emerging from the fog, they saw the apparition of a three-masted schooner, bearing an uncanny resemblance to the ghostly vessel from their tales. Its sails, tattered and torn, seemed to flap in the windless air, and its masts swayed as if buffeted by an unseen tempest. But it wasn't just the ship's eerie appearance that sent chills down their spines. It was the direction it seemed to be sailing. The spectral schooner was hurtling towards the ominous Goodwin Sands, oblivious to the danger that lay ahead. just as Captain Reed's ship had done half a century before? Was it possible that they were witnessing the very same ghost ship that had met its demise in these treacherous waters all those years ago? The crew of the Edenbridge watched in suspense as the ghostly schooner sailed closer and closer to the sandbank. Their hopes that it might turn away from the impending doom were dashed. As the spectral vessel continued its relentless approach, they could see the figures on board the schooner, their faces pale and drawn, their movements frantic and desperate. Were they the souls of the passengers and crew of the Lady Loverbond forever trapped on their doomed vessel? The thought sent a fresh wave of fear through the crew of the Edenbridge. Westlake knew he had to act. He realized that they were witnessing not just a ghost ship, but a chilling prophecy. If the spectral schooner was indeed the Lady Loverbond, then they, too, could be next. He barked orders, his voice ringing with urgency. "All hands, alter course," he shouted over the wind and waves. "Stand by to drop anchor. We must get out of here." They maneuvered with practiced precision, their movements a testament to years of training. The Edenbridge slowly began to turn away from the ghostly schooner and the menacing sandbank, but the specter of the Lady Loverbond lingered in their minds. The crew of the Edenbridge never forgot their encounter with the ghostly schooner. It became a chilling chapter in their maritime lore, a tale whispered around campfires and in quiet moments when the wind moaned like a banshee. The story of the spectral schooner served as a constant reminder of the unforgiving nature of the sea and the restless spirits that some believe roam its depths. But what was the truth behind the sightings? Did Captain Westlake and the crew of the Edenbridge really witness the ghost of the Lady Loverbond? Or was there another explanation for the spectral schooner? Some believe that what Westlake saw was a hallucination, brought on by the thick sea fog and the proximity to the dangerous sandbanks. Others argue that the sightings were the result of a natural phenomenon known as a Brocken specter, an eerie optical illusion that can occur in foggy conditions. However, the most compelling explanation is that Westlake and the others truly witnessed the ghost of the Lady Loverbond and its crew, forever trapped in their watery grave. The similarities between the two encounters are too striking to ignore. The date, the location, the description of the schooner, and even the ultimate fate of both vessels point to a chilling conclusion. What do you think? Were these just spooky coincidences, or was there something more sinister at play? The discovery of the Lady Loverbond's wreck may have provided closure to this maritime mystery, but it has also raised more questions. Why did the Lady Loverbond seem to reappear 50 years later? Was this a message from beyond the grave, a warning to those who sailed these treacherous waters? Or was it simply the restless spirits of the doomed crew, seeking to be free from their watery prison? If you enjoyed this video, stay tuned for more thrilling tales of the sea. Thank you for watching. The relentless waves of the English Channel pounded against the hull of the Deal lifeboat as it battled toward the disaster zone. On board, James Moore gripped the railing, his heart sinking with every roll of the sea. It was dawn, February 13th, 1798, and the rescue crew had raced out to the infamous Goodwin Sands, an area notorious for swallowing ships whole. Their mission was to save survivors of a shipwreck, or so they believed. You see, they weren't responding to a new tragedy. They were racing to the scene of a ghost ship. Now, let me rewind to the start of this haunting tale. It was a bit before 1798, and the seas around Britain were filled with ships laden with goods and men eager to profit from trade. Among them was the ship named Lady Loverbond, a merchant vessel with a valuable cargo and a reputation for being fast and sturdy. But not all ships sail forever. And the Lady Loverbond soon met its demise. See, she hit the treacherous Goodwin Sands, an ever-shifting sandbank just off the coast of Kent. Within minutes, the ship was lost beneath the waves, and with it, the dreams and hopes of the people who owned it. For some skippers, though, the loss of the Lady Lovelace wasn't the end. Every few years they swore they saw it washed up on the beach, looking as if it had just been caught in the tide. At first, these reports were dismissed as figments of imagination. After all, sailors spend so much time at sea that they get a bit lonely. But then something incredible happened. More and more sailors started reporting the same thing. They described seeing the Lady Loverbond masts high and sails full, right there on the shoreline, almost like it was trying to escape the depths. It was as if the very grave that the sea had made had been disturbed. These accounts became so numerous and compelling that authorities had to take notice. On February 13th, in the year 1848, Deal lifeboats received word that a ship had gone down on the sands. Witnesses claimed to have seen a mast and heard cries for help. Without hesitation, the lifeboat set sail into the churning waters of the channel. When they arrived, however, there was no sign of any wreckage or survivors. Only the relentless waves and the familiar shifting sands greeted them. As the years went by, these eerie tales continued. And it wasn't just sailors anymore. Ordinary folks living along the coast started to report seeing the ghostly ship as well. Then, in 1898, Captain Bull Prestwick of the steamer Violet had a sighting that sent shockwaves through the shipping industry. He described seeing a three-masted schooner on the sands that looked so real he nearly steered his ship right into it. His story led to several other dramatic rescues that turned into wild goose chases, as rescuers found nothing but empty water where the phantom vessel should have been. Now, imagine this. You're out there on the open sea, the wind whipping through your hair, the salt spray stinging your face, and suddenly you spot something that defies belief. A ship stuck on the sands, eerily silent, like a specter from another era. The sight sends chills down your spine. You quickly radio for help, excitement and urgency in your voice. But when the others arrive, the ship is gone. Just when they should have been prepared for anything, they find themselves questioning their own eyes. Was it really there, or was it a figment of their imagination conjured up by the vastness and isolation of the sea? And here's the most baffling part. Each sighting seemed to happen exactly every 50 years. You'd think a mystery like this would fade with time, but no, it just got bigger. Then came the 1948 sighting. This time, modern technology was on the case. Equipped with cutting-edge radar systems, Royal Navy vessels scanned the horizon, confident they had finally cornered the ghost ship. The readings were clear and undeniable, suggesting the presence of a substantial surface contact in the vicinity of the historical wreck site. But as the Navy approached, the phantom ship vanished. Fast forward to 1998, and the mystery was handed to Dr. Sarah Matthews, a marine archaeologist who was surveying the Goodwin Sands using state-of-the-art side-scan sonar. Imagine her surprise when she detected what appeared to be an intact three-masted vessel, sitting pretty in the exact same position where countless witnesses had reported seeing the Lady Loverbond over the past 2.5 centuries. Excited and skeptical in equal measure, diving teams were deployed to investigate, but upon reaching the sonar contact, they found nothing but sand and the scattered remains of much more recent wrecks. Here's the kicker. The Lady Loverbond was scheduled to appear again in 2048, but Matthews and her colleagues were unwilling to wait that long. So they dug through historical documents, pored over weather patterns, and even checked old maps. Their goal was to uncover something that could explain these bizarre sightings once and for all. But do you know what they found? The Goodwin Sands, known to create unique atmospheric effects, can bend light in a way that creates incredibly detailed false images. This phenomenon, known as superior mirage, has fooled many a sailor over the years. But no scientific explanation can account for why these sightings happen precisely every 50 years. Always on February 13th, always featuring the same three-masted schooner sailing the same doomed course toward the sands. It's almost as if the Lady Loverbond is playing a cosmic game of hide-and-seek, taunting us with glimpses of herself only to vanish when we reach out to touch her. But there's a twist in the tale that makes this mystery even more perplexing. In 1998, when Matthews and her team were investigating the sonar contact, they found nothing but sand. No ship, no artifacts, not even a trace of the legend itself. And here's the question that's kept maritime experts up at night ever since. If the Lady Loverbond is just a product of atmospheric phenomena and sailor superstition, why do the sightings follow such a rigid schedule? Why February 13th? Why exactly every 50 years? And why do witnesses across centuries describe identical details, down to the ship's rigging configuration and apparent course heading? Today, the Goodwin Sands remain one of the world's most dangerous shipping hazards, but the sightings have stopped for now. They will resume in 25 years, exactly half a century since the last reported appearance. But if history is any indication, the Lady Loverbond will vanish again as soon as anyone reaches her, leaving behind nothing but whispers of her legacy and the haunting echo of her name among the treacherous sands. The future is unwritten, but one thing is certain: the ocean holds its secrets close, and the Lady Loverbond is no exception. The world waits with bated breath for the day when science can unravel this mystery, hopefully in time to prevent the tragedies that befall those who dare encounter her. But for now, the Lady Loverbond remains a phantom, a ghost ship that haunts the waters of the English Channel, forever reminding us of the unpredictable nature of the sea and the enduring allure of the unknown. And if you want to join me in exploring more maritime mysteries, don't forget to subscribe for more adventures. Also, check out this video where I explore the unsolved mysteries of the Mary Celeste, a ship that was found abandoned at sea with no trace of its crew. Until then, remember, the ocean never forgets.